Welcome back to Simple Spoken English. In today's video, we bring you part 3 of Vijay and Asta's emotional journey, covering chapters 11 to 15. The story's name is Her Last Wish. This story is not only touching, but also an excellent way to improve your English. Through this emotional tale, you'll learn new phrases, expressions, and dialogues that are used in real-life conversations. It's perfect for anyone wanting to enhance their spoken English skills while enjoying a heartfelt story. In this part, we continue the story of Vijay, who is married to Asta, a woman with no parents. After 6 months of marriage, Vijay discovers that Asta is HIV positive. Despite this heartbreaking news, he decides to fulfill her wishes and make her dreams come true. He learns about her unspoken desires through friends, and by one note she wrote, "As do things before die." If you missed part 1 or part 2, make sure to watch them first so you can fully enjoy this chapter. The links are in the description below. Let's dive into this emotional journey and see how Vijay's love and determination guide him forward. Chapter 11. How on earth was I going to fulfill her dreams? We could not even have sex. How would she ever become a mother? Marry a hero? Really? I am not sure about hero, but Asta has definitely married a zero. She wants 2,000 people to wish her on her birthday? Who is she kidding? How can a person who is unable to take care of his wife host a grand party for 2,000 guests? Become a millionaire? Asta has definitely married the wrong guy. Cover page of a magazine. She is neither a model nor a celebrity. Why would any magazine publish her picture? And what on earth is BB? Does she mean blockbuster Bollywood movie on her or BlackBerry? I weighed my options and gave up. I sat on the floor and tears gushed out of my eyes, making me feel helpless again. I tore that page from her diary. In the space between 7 and wishes, I wrote impossible. Now it read, 7 impossible wishes before I die. I stepped out of my house. Everything seemed the same. Everyone was in a hurry. The weather was hot and humid as usual. Roads were crowded with unwanted souls. Nothing had changed. But I felt that the world was different for me now. I started my bike and headed towards Noida to meet my father. I had no idea how my father would be able to help me and what I would discuss with him, but in my situation, he was the best person whom I could seek advice from. Millions of negative emotions and thoughts had already begun to muddle in my brain. Should I reveal the truth to Papa? How will he react? What will he think about Asta? What exactly should I say to him? Will he doubt Asta's character? I argued with my own thoughts. He is an old man, and revealing the truth would not provide any positive outcome. On the contrary, this could be an unwelcome stress for him. Throughout my life, I have always made him worry, and have not given him any reason to smile. Why was I thinking like that, I wondered? Maybe because the worst situations in our lives bring out some unique changes in us. I didn't realize when I had covered the entire distance from my house to my parents, and in a few minutes I was at the doorstep of our house. Mom was on a trip to South Africa to personally interview sports personalities for the upcoming famous FIFA World Cup to be held in South Africa. My dad was a happily retired man. My mother, who was 5 years younger to Dad, had no age bar for retirement. A journalist is a journalist all her life. As expected, my father unlatched the door and asked, "What has happened to my son? It is a Monday." I couldn't utter a single word and hugged him instead. "What is the matter, VJ?" my father asked again. "I was just missing you, Papa. The last time you said you were missing me was when you had failed to clear the IAS exam for the third time. I hope everything is okay. Is Asta fine?" he asked me point blank. "Yes, everything is fine." "VJ," Papa said, "you should avoid such long trips. Asta would get bored alone. Anyway, how was your Goa trip anyway?" I had been so occupied in my thoughts that I had totally forgotten to get him the souvenir I had got from Goa. "Good," I replied in my usual monosyllable. He moved towards the kitchen to get his lunch. I was sitting and imagining how I had spent my life in this house, jumping around in every corner. I had a sense of belonging for every part of the room. I mentally thanked God that I was not staying in this house any longer, as it would have meant that I would have to die here. I began to feel that every material thing was immaterial to me, because the most relevant person of my life was in a fix. After 30 minutes of heartless discussion about food, Goa, college, and my mother, we settled on the bed. I was still thinking of a way to strike a conversation about Asta. "What happened, VJ?" Papa asked while caressing me. "You seem worried." I wanted to hug him right then and let my emotions loose. "Nothing much, Papa," I said, giving a fake smile. "One of my friends has been diagnosed with cancer and is in the last stage." "Oh," he said, sadness clearly reflecting from his voice. I summoned all the courage I had in me and tried to bring up Asta's topic in a different way. "Papa, suppose one day you get to know that Mom is about to die in a few days. How will you react?" My question stunned him, and I could make out that he had definitely not been expecting such words from me. My father is a filmy man. Actually, he is an impractical man, but I want to refrain from saying it out loud. He changed his posture and shifted towards me. "Son, everyone who is born has to die one day. The moment I get to know that your mother is about to leave us and that I have limited time to talk to her, I will start by apologizing to her for each and every mistake of mine and will try to keep her as happy as possible for the rest of her life. I will try to fulfill all her wishes before she dies." "Then why wait for death, Papa? We can do it while we are still living, right?" I said abruptly. He was silent for a few seconds. "Exactly, that is the point. If your mother is about to die, she will never wish those things or even tell me her wishes. What is the need of fulfilling her wishes then?" I asked inquisitively. "A person should try to fulfill all wishes of a dying person because those are for him. At the end of the day, he will think what, instead of sitting and crying in one corner of the room, he at least tried to do something for her. Who says that it is wrong to be selfish?" He sighed and continued, "Listen, your friend is dying. He likes snowfall, and by some means you are able to fulfill his wish. Won't that give you satisfaction?" I nodded. "Papa, I wanted to ask you one more thing." "You are behaving really weirdly today," he said. I ignored his observation. "How did you change so drastically? All your life you were a very ambitious father, but after my marriage, I have seen a sudden change in you. All these years you had been forcing me to prepare for government jobs. I still remember the way you had reacted when I had messed up my interview. Sometimes I even felt that you were way too strict. You too have changed after marriage, son." I gave him a confused look. He understood my predicament and said, "VJ, it's not about your marriage, it is about my retirement. While I was working, I would be frustrated with my busy duty hours. A cop's life is full of humiliation, torture, and disrespect. Every time I was transferred to a new place, I cursed my destiny. Post-retirement, I finally got some time for myself, and it was then that I analyzed life. The best thing about retirement is inner peace," he said. "So you have finally got your inner peace?" I asked. "How can I when my son has lost his? Now tell me frankly what the matter is." "How could you guess that?" "Because for the very first time, you are asking too many questions, and trust me, your questions are difficult to answer." "I am not hiding anything, Papa. My best friend is in trouble." I faked a yawn and turned to the other side, pretending to sleep. "I know you are lying." I was shocked at how sure he was. Couldn't speak single word and hugged him instead. It was a hug by a 32-year-old man who was scared of life. I was feeling light, and I wished it to last for eternity. For those few seconds, I felt like I had nothing to worry about. "What is the matter, son?" asked my father while caressing my back. That was it. I broke down. "Is Asta fine?" We humans spend half our lives planning on how to spend the remaining half. But we are so helpless, Papa. There are millions of things that we aspire and wish for, but it is surprising that we cannot achieve everything. We are too minuscule in this world and are helpless against destiny and God's plans. There are billions of things that humans can do too." Papa was trying to give his best shot at consoling me. "Papa, I prepared for years to get into the IAS in the wild hope of giving you some happiness. It took me only a few attempts to realize that I am a useless son. It was Mom who pulled strings for me to get the job of a professor, that too just an ad hoc one. I have never had a friend in my life. I wonder how Asta landed up in my life. She is my only friend, my bundle of joy, my wife. But—" I was shivering with anger and found it difficult to talk. "But what, VJ? You are scaring me now." "She is slipping away from me." "What happened to her?" "She is HIV positive." I narrated the entire situation to my father, and he fell silent. I could tell that he was in deep thought, figuring out a way to make me feel positive. "Papa," I said, "the moment I got to know about her illness, I took it on myself to fulfill all her wishes. But it dawned upon me that I cannot. The wishes are beyond my capacity. However, I am going to fight for all of it to come true, whether they're achievable or not." "Why are you giving it a shot when you know it is impossible to fulfill them?" "I would be immensely satisfied if I am able to fulfill even one of her dreams." "That is a selfish approach." "Who said that being selfish is wrong?" I was shocked at my own words. "I want an answer, Papa. Why is it that every single time I am the only one punished by God? I wish for a miracle to save her. Please, God." "Stop blabbering to God," my father shouted at me, "and stop begging for a miracle." I watched him, aghast. It was as if a priest was saying that there is no God. He raised his voice. "Everyone has to die someday. But not at this age. A 28-year-old girl who has been married only 6 months and wishes to be a mother, plans to purchase a house and a car, wants to live a happy life with her family. She can't die. How can her death be justified? I am not justifying anything, VJ. You are absolutely right. Tell me, how many times have you seen me happy around your mother? It was a weird question, coming from my father. Nevertheless, I replied, very rarely. That is the point, my son. Even after staying under one roof for more than 30 years, we rarely talk to each other, and whenever we do, we end up squabbling. Whatever time Astha has in her kitty, give her all the happiness she has always wished for. How, Papa, how? Fulfill her wishes before she leaves us. Her wishes are impossible to fulfill. Tell me, what are her wishes? I was hesitant to share that piece of paper with him. However, I handed it over to him. My father was shocked. The piece of paper fell from his hands, and all that he could manage to say was, "Who is Daniel?" He didn't say a word. We ate our lunch in silence. For the first time, I was feeling uncomfortable in my own house. "Papa, I should get going. It's time to pick Astha from her office," I said, getting up from the chair. She was going to be terminated today, so she might need me to be by her side. Please wait for a minute. Papa went to his room and came back in a few minutes. VJ, he sighed. You are well aware that I joined the police force as an inspector and retired as an inspector. I gave my best at being a police officer. Even after all the good things I did, my department suspended me for 4 months. He gulped a glass of water. What are you getting at, Papa? A person who believes in God always seeks for a miracle to happen that will solve all the adversities. In that hope, he ignores applying his potential to the fullest. Finally, he ends up being a loser, and the beauty of it is that he blames all of it on God. Don't believe much on miracles. I chose not to react. He continued, a bird resting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because it trusts its wings. Please understand, VJ, you need to believe in yourself. Give it your best shot, my son. I nodded. Just as I was stepping out of the house, he returned the page containing Astha's wishes. I unfolded it and read, 7 Impossible Wishes Before I Die. Chapter 12. From VJ's Father. This is Sanjay, VJ's father, and I am writing for my son. I'll be filling in my version of the story in bits and parts. And let me clarify that I am writing as a father. I agree that I am a father who killed his son's confidence. It is the law of nature that the Creator is the destroyer too. I created my son's life and destroyed it. As if that wasn't enough, destiny has tried to destroy it further. My life ended with the commencement of VJ's life. I had a love marriage, but my love died after marriage. During my tenure as a police officer in Uttar Pradesh, I met a passionate and very career-oriented journalist, and the first flush of love blossomed in my life. She was VJ's mother. I liked her confidence and passion. Needless to say, an honest police officer had fallen for a journalist. Happiness and marriage were 2 different sets altogether. She was a complex mix of beauty and brains. My honesty was perceived by her as an opportunity to blackmail for negotiation and earn some money. Honesty was just a theory for her, which had no relevance in reality. Whenever I arrested someone, she would poke me to lower my self-esteem and sell my inner self. And upon her insistence, I did it several times. I was no longer an honest police officer. The person I would see in the mirror had died twice. During her third attempt at pushing me to take a bribe, I was caught red-handed and suspended for 4 months. My temporary suspension had put to death the permanent happiness of our life. I resumed duty, but our relationship could never be resumed. We would now fight for every trivial thing, be it about my salary or posting. I cannot remember any week that passed without a heated argument between us. After the first few months of our wedding, I had settled with the fact that we were two very different beings, and was now certain that we were not made for each other. I believe it's always better to stay alone and happy than with someone and sad. I had almost made up my mind to quit from our marriage, and was on the verge of rewriting my life when the savior of our lives made an entry. My wife got pregnant. VJ meant the world to me, and was much loved by both of us. We still had reasons to fight, but also one reason to avoid those fights. The nature of my job required me to travel to different cities. VJ's mom joined a sports magazine as an editor, and that required her to travel to different places to interview the players. This hampered VJ's studies. The absence of both parents during his formative years resulted in the weakening of his academic foundation. He started losing grades, and after a few years, low grades had become the norm. He would score just enough to be promoted to the next class. My life was totally shattered by now. There was no promotion or enthusiasm in my job because now my name had been registered in the list of corrupt police officers. My frustration of being unable to go up the ladder clouded VJ. I forced my dreams on him. VJ's mother and I had a heated discussion over VJ's career. She wanted him to opt for engineering, but my frustration led me to win. I announced to both of them that VJ would only become an IAS officer and nothing else. Surprisingly, VJ never expressed his wish to be something else. Initially, I felt he was an over-obedient son. It was later that I realized he didn't have a consideration in any subject. He turned out to be an introvert and very shy. He would rarely speak. He had no friends. A girlfriend was out of the question. He would hardly fight for anything. Struggle, inspiration, and passion to achieve something were all alien to him. He had failed to clear the IAS exam in all his attempts. Just once, he had cleared the prelims and main exam in UP-PCS. I still remember the day when VJ had announced that he had cleared the second paper of UP-PCS and was preparing to appear for the interview round. I was thrilled because, for the first time, I could see a ray of hope. I was posted in Meerut then. I took leave to visit my son, VJ. My son, you are very close to fulfilling your father's dream. I am really very proud of you, I said while giving him a welcome hug. Thanks, Papa, but... Before he could say anything else, I interrupted him. Do you remember what you had said when you had failed in the third attempt of IAS? You had said that you cannot do it anymore, and see, your hard work has paid off today. But, Papa, you wanted to see me as an IAS officer. No, I wanted to see you as a PCS officer. PCS officers join the police force. I lied to him so as not to weaken his confidence. Why did you force me to clear the IAS exam then? He asked. Because preparation for IAS, which is tougher than PCS, would have made your journey of clearing the PCS a cakewalk for you. I was amazed with my explanation. I don't know what I had done to my child because he said the same sentence that haunted him the most. Papa, the interview is still pending. I know, VJ. I am confident that my son will clear it with flying colors, I assured him. But I am really scared, Papa. Scared of what? The interview. It is all about being confident. That is the point, Papa. Confidence is exactly what I lack. VJ, look at our neighbor's son, Mohan. He had failed twice in his 10th standard exams, but still managed to clear the PCS. He belongs to the SC category. He had the advantage of reservation. We have Yadav uncle's son as well. He is an OBC. His answers frustrated me. Don't compare yourself with others. Just look at you. I am a general category candidate, but you are very special. Stop comparing my son with any Mohan or Sohan, VJ's mother shouted and interrupted our conversation. She would always do that. Interrupt while I spoke to my son. I am not comparing him with anyone. And he is my son too, I retaliated. VJ, don't listen to what he says, said his mother. Can I talk to my son in solace? I snapped at her. Remember, Sanjay, he is the only son we have, she said before leaving the room. I wondered how she had landed up in my life. Her presence had changed the air completely. Few minutes back we were behaving like Krishna and Arjuna. The silence now felt like we were sitting in a mortuary. This was a very common scene in our house. VJ, don't listen to your mom, I said, exasperated. Mom says not to listen to you, and you say the same about her. I wasn't surprised with his words because this was not the first time that VJ was facing this situation. Focus, VJ. I am not comparing you to anyone. I am 100% sure that you can make it. When is your interview scheduled? A month later. Listen carefully now. Join the Best Coaching Institute to prepare for your interview. I'll personally conduct your mock interviews. Okay, Papa, as you say. That was the issue with my son. He always followed others' directions. His greatest challenge was his inability to face more than 2 people at once. I worried about how he would handle the civil services interview, with a dozen pairs of eyes fixed on him simultaneously. Of course, I couldn't call my son a failure. After all, he's my son. Like every father, I held on to hope for his success. His final interview was scheduled in Allahabad. I arrived in Noida a day before my departure for Allahabad. I patiently waited for my wife to leave the room so I could step in. VJ, let's practice a mock interview, I said, eager to gauge his readiness. I lined up 5 dining chairs in a row, placing another chair opposite them for the candidate. VJ, imagine this is the actual interview boardroom, and you're facing 5 panelists. 5 people? VJ exclaimed. Focus, VJ. Look me in the eye. It doesn't matter if it's 5 or more panelists. It scares me, Papa. Don't worry. You can do this. Relax and be comfortable. Let's start the interview. Wait outside and enter when I call you. Okay, VJ replied. He opened the door, peeked in, and asked, Sir, may I come in? Please, Mr. VJ, come in and take a seat, I responded, pretending to flip through a directory. So, Mr. VJ, where are you from? I'm from India and currently live in Noida, he answered confidently. Impressive. Tell me something about yourself. I already know this answer, Papa, he said proudly. The Coaching Institute gave me all the right lines to say. VJ, I interrupted sharply. Respond as if you're in the boardroom. He adjusted himself and began. I'm VJ. I studied at a convent school and come from a respectable family. My father serves as a police officer with the UP Police, and my mother is a journalist. Love for our nation and its people runs in my veins. I've always been an achiever, reaching every goal I've set for myself. During my college cricket tournament, I was frequently chosen as an umpire because the teachers admired my honesty and decision-making abilities. I plan to use these skills and devote myself entirely to serving my nation. I was truly astonished and wondered whether those words were genuinely from my son or someone else. Great answer, my son. Papa, we are in a boardroom. Oh, I'm so sorry. So, Mr. VJ, why do you want to join the police force? Whenever I see or hear news about the UP police being criticized for all the wrong reasons, it pains me deeply. Thinking of people feeling unsafe breaks my heart. I've witnessed my father tirelessly moving from one place to another, serving the state, only to see the situation remain stagnant. I often wondered when the system would change. That's when I realized that dreams alone don't make changes happen. Being part of the system does. As a human being, there's nothing more fulfilling than helping punish criminals and making people feel secure. I began clapping. It was hard to believe this was the same VJ, my son, who once couldn't even speak in front of others. You've definitely been attending the best coaching class, I said, encouraging him. Thank you, Papa. These are just standard questions and I've prepared thoroughly, but... No buts, VJ. I'm confident now that you'll fulfill your father's dream. The day of the interview came, and I was more nervous than him. I feared he was chasing my dream, not his. I was terrified he might freeze in front of strangers. I prayed continuously since morning. When VJ called after the interview, I jumped up from my chair, eager to hear what had happened. How was the interview? I asked quickly. Good. Really? How long did it last? Around 5 minutes. What? How many panelists were there? 10. Oh my God! I was speechless for a moment, sensing unease. VJ, what did they ask? Only 3 questions. 3? I'm sure you answered them confidently. I tried my best, he replied. What was the first question? Tell me something about yourself. Great! You'd have said the same lines as yesterday, right? Yes, I tried. What about the second question? Tell me something more about yourself. What? I was shocked. And the third? Anything else that you'd like to tell us about yourself? I vividly remember the day VJ visited me. It is the best feeling to have your son hug you, but it turns to the worst feeling when he has tears in his eyes. He was disappointed, disheartened, and dejected. I could only blame myself. Yes, I was the one responsible for the state VJ was in. If a child has poor self-esteem, it is because you advise them more than you encourage them. If a child lacks confidence, it means you have never allowed him to take any decisions. VJ was in this state because of bad parenting. When he failed in all his attempts to clear the IAS and PCS, he had come to me and cried his heart out. He had cursed God. But in the heart of hearts, I was fully aware that I was to be cursed. I was the one who had expected the unexpected from him. His mother beat the odds by recommending him for the post of an assistant professor and got Vijay a job. We then decided to marry him off. Even after a wild hunt for a year and a half, we failed in all our attempts. But every cloud has a silver lining. I often wonder how a girl like Asta gave her consent for a boy like Vijay. They were an imperfect match then, and they are an imperfect match now. Asta is bold and Vijay is shy. Asta is confident, cheerful, ambitious, and modern. But she loves him earnestly. It is always a blessing for parents to see their child being loved, adored, and cared for by their spouses. Happiness in Vijay's life doesn't stay for long, and this gave rise to another Vijay. He fought for his wife, and now that she has been diagnosed with HIV, he has somehow reaped the courage to chase her weird, almost impossible wishes. Only a person in love can attempt to be so foolish. But for a father, it hardly matters whether his son wins or loses. I was content with the fact that he was finally fighting for something. I promised myself to walk with him every step. I moved to that section of the Almira in the bedroom where the divine deity resided in idols, whose existence was still doubtful to me. Madness, but I moved to that section of the Almira in the bedroom where the divine deity resided in idols, whose existence was still doubtful to me. "Oh God," I said, "please help him accomplish all her wishes. My son's behavior can be considered madness, but at least provide him with courage and confidence. Please, God, help my son. Help me." Chapter 13. Asta was already home when I got back. "How did you get home early? I had asked you not to commute by public." Before I could finish my sentence, Asta hugged me tight and started crying like a baby. It was a repetition of what I had done with Papa. Only this time I had to be the confident one. I had to be her rock. I couldn't afford to be weak. "Hey," I said, consoling her. "What happened?" She chose to be silent, which was abnormal for Asta. "How did you get home early, sweetheart?" I asked again. She was still buried in my arms. I loosened my grip around her, cupped her cheeks, looked into her brownish eyes, and asked gently, "What happened, Asta?" I was a bad actor, but she was too sad to notice my hopelessness. "Vijay, I lost my job." "Oh," I said sympathetically, but quickly added, "Well, don't you see it? Finally, some good news. It has happened for the good. It is destiny's way of telling you that it is high time you chase your dreams." "I fail to understand what is going on around me," she sobbed. I chose to ignore her remark and picked up my college magazine, which was lying around. I held it up for her to see and said, "You can be a writer. Writers are the least paid, Vijay. Asta, I want you to be a writer because you wanted to be one at some point in time. Remember, it is not about the money. When you get a job, millions of others do the same thing as you do for a living. But you have the sole custody of your life," I philosophized. VJ, is that really you? You are not the same person. I shrugged and frowned while she continued. But what about our expenses? You don't have to worry. I have been promoted, remember? Mr. VJ Sharma, you are behaving as if you have become a millionaire overnight. What increment have they offered? She remarked sarcastically. Forget about all that. What did your idiot boss say? You know what? For the first time in my duration at Axis Bank, I saw my boss regretting making a decision. When he apprised me of my probation result, I could easily sense the pain in his voice, and the sad look on his face only confirmed my doubts. Firing an employee is always painful. Yeah, I guess so, she said and sighed. Now listen carefully, I said, gearing up. Don't try to travel by public transport again. I am very serious about it. I didn't travel by public transport, VJ. A colleague dropped me home. Oh, who? My boss, Mukul Mathur. Next day I called up Sargam to inquire about Daniel. He was a common friend of ours, Sargam lied. I knew because the description from Astha's diary was non-compliant with Sargam's answer. It was difficult for me to get Sargam to spill the beans. Listen, Sargam, I said with utmost patience. I hope you are not treating me as your best friend's husband. I am your friend too, and you can tell me the truth because I know that Daniel cannot be just a friend. Actually, she said hesitantly, Daniel is her ex-boyfriend. I was not surprised because for a girl like Astha, her not having a boyfriend would have come as a surprise to me. I asked further, where is he nowadays? He is currently working with Barclays Bank in Gurgaon as an investment banker. I wasn't sure of what I was about to ask, but I still tried to face it. What could possibly be the reason that Astha would need to apologize to him because she decided to marry you without even informing him? Daniel was studying at California State University then. He had requested Astha to wait for him until he got back, but Astha had made her decision. Daniel is a Roman Catholic, and his family wasn't ready to accept a Hindu daughter-in-law. I felt nothing. No desperation, no sadness. I had no idea how to react. I stood calmly and mustered the courage to shoot my next question at Sargam, the most difficult one. Are they still in contact? I am not sure, VJ. Daniel returned to India the same day you married Astha. Do you have his contact details by any chance? Yes, I do, but I'll share them with you only under one condition. I am ready for anything. What exactly is wrong with Astha? I'll tell you, but only if you promise to keep it to yourself. I hope you are not treating me like Astha's best friend. I am your friend too. Chapter 14. Astha's 7 wishes had started haunting me. It had been 6 months since I had known her, but it suddenly felt like I didn't know her at all. How could a modern and ambitious girl like her wish to be a mother? There ought to be a reason. After a sumptuous dinner, we were relaxing in front of the television. A news channel flashed that Sushmita Sen, a famous actor, was planning to adopt another girl child. She was not even married. Being a single mother must have been so difficult, I thought. Her courage intrigued me to ask a dangerous question which most men dread to even think about. Astha, I said hesitantly, I think it is time for us to extend our family. Oh my God, VJ, that's great. Mr. VJ is finally ready to be a father. The excitement in her voice was in sync with the spark in her eyes. Yes, I am thinking of adopting a child. Adoption? She said. Why adopt when we can conceive one? Asta, there are many orphans in our country. So instead of making an addition to the already growing population, we should adopt a child. I am not a saint, but the reason I presented for adopting a child had definitely categorized me as a stupid man, at least to my wife. As a reflex action to my words, she frowned, mumbled something, and finally she said, "No, I will not adopt a child." "Why?" I countered. "What is the big deal in adopting a child?" "Nothing. I just don't want to." "Are you hiding something from me?" I was fully aware that the chatterbox that Asta was, she would surely tell me what was on her mind. I was a stepdaughter for my father's second wife, and when she had a baby girl, everyone shifted their focus from me to her. Whenever my mother went out to shop for something, she would buy stuff only for my stepsister. Every year, her birthday was celebrated like a carnival. No one would even wish me on mine. Only my father would occasionally gift me a few dresses. I protested, only to realize later that I had always been an unwanted child. An unwanted, illegitimate child, Asta said with tears in her eyes. I hugged her tight and said, "As I had told you when we first met, it is not the child who is illegitimate, but the parents." How difficult it must have been for her to put up a smiling face. Who could have guessed from her happy-go-lucky nature what she had been through and will be going through? "I know that," she said, composing herself. "I am not at all responsible for what my parents did. But VJ, throughout my life, I have remained confined to myself. I never had anyone to hug. You can never imagine the plight of a motherless child. I always wished to have shown my idiotic mom." She went silent. "What, Asta?" I said, holding up her chin. "That one day I will be the world's best mother." Her sentence gave me a mini heart attack, and for the first time, I decided to lie to her on her face. "Of course, you will be one." What if we give birth to a child after adopting one? We might not be able to avoid differentiating between the two. Her fears were coming forth now. "I am sure we will love both of them equally. Suppose we don't have our own baby, then adoption is the most feasible option." I cursed myself the moment these words slipped out of my mouth. That's right. If you use this bullshit condom every time we make out, then we'll end up only with an adoption, she said in despair. I smiled. "Why are you laughing?" And again she had considered my smile to be a laugh. "Nothing. I am sure of one thing. Making someone happy with a lie is always better than hurting them with the truth. You'll be the best mom ever." Chapter 15. Although I had no doubt that Asta's love for me was pure and unadulterated, I was a human being who could go weak at times. I had Daniel's number and wanted to speak to him, but was wondering what I would say. I wanted to meet him too, but somehow had a bad feeling about it. So, to be on the safer side, I took an appointment with Daniel for Sunday. I introduced myself as Sargum's friend who wanted to speak about something essential. He was insistent that we meet in his office, but after a few persistent requests, he agreed to meet at his house. I noticed a strange psychological change in myself. I had suddenly become more outgoing. Whatever I did it without any fear or inhibitions, maybe because I didn't have anything to lose. I unfolded the page on which her 7 wishes were written. I smirked and said to myself, "My dear weird wife, why could you not have more common wishes? You must probably have been drunk or insane while writing this." I wanted to try everything that could give her happiness. I failed to understand why I wasn't giving up, as I had always done. I made up my mind to work upon the next impossible task. I called up Sudha Auntie, the editor-in-chief of Hype Dust magazine, and ended up at her office. Being a journalist's son, it was cakewalk for me to dig out Sudha Auntie's contact details. She was a close friend of my mother's, but had snatched my mother's story once and was no longer in her good books. Surprisingly, she had turned up during my wedding, and it had appeared as if they had resolved their differences. Hype Dust was the leading gossip magazine in the Delhi NCR area. They were amongst the top 5 when it came to distribution. Their office was small yet presentable. A few seats were placed in the waiting area. I settled down in one of the chairs and flipped the pages of a magazine placed on a nearby table to kill my time while I waited to see her. After a few minutes, I stepped up to the receptionist's desk and asked, "Can I have a look at the previous issues of the magazine?" "Sir, we have a small store for visitors. Feel free to walk in." She pointed towards the coffee machine, adjacent to which was a room labeled Magazine Repository. I found multiple copies of each month's issue of Hype Dust. I had a glimpse of their cover pages. That was my only target. Thank you for watching Simple Spoken English. We hope VJ and Asta's story inspired you and helped you learn something new today. This emotional journey is a beautiful way to practice English and connect with real-life phrases and expressions. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next part, where the story takes another emotional turn. Also, hit the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. What do you think will happen next in VJ and Asta's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you soon in Part 4. Take care and keep learning.